All right. Love is in the air. Let's let's give everyone a bit of love. Welcome everyone to the El Toro La Liga show. Obviously, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. So I hope you guys are gonna have some nice. Hopefully, your beds are fixed well, and it's gonna be a really good night for a lot of people. Or really bad night. You never know. But big up to everyone. This is obviously the El Toro La Liga show. So this is not a dating show. So we are going to be talking about La Liga and the Copa del Rey that just happened past 2 nights, and obviously the Segunda as well. Before we get started, please do hit the like button on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's get started with the Copa del Rey, which happened the past 2 nights actually, Wednesday night and last night. On Wednesday night, we had the Basque Derby once again. The first time in La Liga was about 10 days before this, and it ended in a 1-1 draw. But this time in the same stadium as it was, Real Sociedad did pick up the win that they so desperately needed to get into the potential spot of reaching the Copa del Rey final. So a huge win for them in that case. Very, very surprising result, you could say, because considering home teams usually do well in the Basque Derby, but Sociedad got the win. And they are on a very good run of form, actually. I believe they're also 8th or 7th. Not 6, 7, but I think 7, 8, or 9 in La Liga right now. But they are in a decent spot. Not in a much, they're in a good spot, but not as good as what happened last night. Atletico Madrid 4, Barcelona 0 at halftime, and it ended 4-0 at full time. 4-0. 4-0. Big, big, big result. And for Atletico Madrid, look, they haven't won a trophy. It is now 5 years that they have not won a trophy. The last time they won it was the 2021 La Liga trophy. But they haven't won the Copa del Rey in, I'm trying to think, maybe 10 years now. It's been more or less. So, look, for Atleti to get a huge 4-0 win at home to Barcelona, a team that knocked them out at this exact stage last season. And it just means that for Atletico Madrid, it's a big result for them because obviously, I've like over the past 24 hours since the game has ended, you are literally having Barcelona fans saying remontada, 6-1 like they did against PSG about 10 years ago. But I'm just going to be honest with every single person here. I would, you know what? If there's anyone watching, if Barcelona makes the Copa del Rey final from being 4-0 down, I will legit do the next El Toro La Liga show without my shirt. That's what I'm going to do. if Barcelona makes the Copa del Rey final and what do you call this? And they're in the final after being 4-0 down to Atleti. If Barcelona make the final, I am going to do the next El Toro La Liga show, which would be, I believe, on the 5th or 6th of March, the one after the second leg of the semifinal. I will do it topless. You guys will see my amazing body. So yeah, that's how. I mean, it's not that huge anyway, but I will be topless, completely topless, if Barcelona are in the Copa del Rey final after being 4-0 down. So I'll be honest, Atleti, big win after after losing to Betis in La Liga, but then destroying them 5-0 in the previous round of the Copa del Rey. I think I forgot. I know I predicted Barcelona to make the final, but I just think it's Atleti's to lose. So Atleti to make the final, and if Real Sociedad continue the form that they're on, I could also see them making the final. So I'll say Atletico Madrid versus Real Sociedad. I think that'll be a pretty decent final. Sociedad have not won the Copa del Rey since 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So it's also been 5 years since they last won a trophy, I believe. So yeah, lots to get into for Sociedad when they do, if they were to make the final. So yeah, big result. Obviously, the second leg will be on the 3rd and 4th of March, most likely. So in about 3 weeks from now. So we'll see what happens when those games actually do happen by then. But yeah, now it is time to talk about La Liga. So let me just get the tab ready. But yeah, huge games coming up in La Liga. Let me just sort everything out. I'm sorry, I'm not that super prepared. But yeah, the first game we have, I'll first do that. All right, so the game in about 20 minutes, more or less. It is Elche against Osasuna. As I said, Elche versus Osasuna in La Liga. Obviously, Osasuna, the away team, did beat Celta Vigo last Friday actually. Elche, if I'm not mistaken, got a draw in their last game. But in terms of win probability, 33% for Elche to win, 30% for a draw, and 37% for Osasuna to win. As you guys can see, Osasuna are in a good run of form as well, just like La Real as well. So look, they've definitely improved over the past few games now, Osasuna. So who knows? Maybe they actually compete for the European places. They're only practically 4 points or so from 7th. So pretty good. As for Elche, they didn't draw. They lost. And Elche are now in a situation that they are now dragged into a relegation battle. They started the season so well, but it's been petering off, and their downfall in a way has kind of been under the radar. So there's a potential they could get relegated, Elche, now, especially when they lost Mendoza as well to Atletico Madrid in the transfer window. So yeah, it's very difficult to really see Elche getting a result against a very informed Osasuna team. And if Osasuna win, then obviously they go up to 8th and in a practically a challenger position for the European places, which I didn't really expect them to when they had a little bit of a bad start to the season. But in terms of prediction, obviously you could check out the lineups here as well. Yeah, obviously both teams looking ahead. But I will be honest, and I would actually say, in terms of a prediction, I just can't see much of an Elche win. So I'm going with Osasuna. I'm going 2-1 for Osasuna to win tonight. And then next up, it is actually 6-7. If you guys want 6-7. It's 6 against 7th in La Liga with Espanyol versus Celta Vigo. Obviously, both sides in the current European places at the moment. 39% Espanyol win, 29% for draw, 32% Celta Vigo win. But when you look at the table, and to be honest, the form guide, both haven't been in a good run of form, but actually Espanyol have yet to win a single game in the year of our Lord 2026. Meanwhile, for Celta Vigo, obviously, after this game, they do go in the Europa League playoff game against PAOK, which I believe they've already played early in the season, but obviously they have to do a little bit more rotation again. But yeah, it is going to be a big axe. And look, whoever wins this game, you can get a lot of good momentum heading into the next couple of weeks, because it's going to be really tough for both sides. But look, I'll be honest, Espanyol they've suffered so much this year, 2026. Started season super well. They were at one point close to maybe getting a Champions League spot. Now it looks like they're going to be dragged into maybe not even making Europe altogether. Whereas Celta Vigo is the same thing, whereby they've now being consistently bad and then consistently good. Now they're starting to become consistently shit, which I don't mind. But in terms of a prediction, can I see Espanyol finally getting their first win of 2026 on Valentine's Day? And for people of the city of Barcelona, I'm going to say so. I'm going to say it will be a 2-1 win for Espanyol. That'll be my prediction. 2-1 for Espanyol. And then next up we have is Getafe against Villarreal. Let me sort things out. There we go. Getafe, Villarreal. Obviously, Getafe finally getting the first win in about 2 months or so. Villarreal, they've been okay, more or less. 28% Getafe win percentage, 31% for a draw, and 41% Villarreal win. And obviously, we're going to preview again Villarreal a little bit later. But yeah, Villarreal in fourth at the moment. Practically tied with Atlético Madrid, and they do play their game in hand. In this show, actually talking about it but near the end of it. But yeah, they're still 7 points clear of Betis, which is fine, but they're 12 points behind Real Madrid, even with a game in hand. So I'll be honest, for Villarreal, it's just about there's literally no significance for Villarreal this season. They're out of both competitions that doesn't involve La Liga. So yeah. Meanwhile, Getafe finally picking up a win, and they were down like 17th, and then that standalone win actually got them all the way up to 11th. So it kind of shows you just how volatile La Liga has been in terms of the standings and all that sort of stuff. Like you can go from bottom to top, like not super top, but still. So yeah, in terms of prediction, look, Villarreal are probably still going to be the favorites for this one. Getafe obviously got their first win, but I think it's probably a blip on the road, sort of. I'm actually going with a Villarreal win, an away win. 2-0 will be my prediction for the Yellow Submarine. Next up we have is Sevilla against Alavés over here. Now, obviously, both sides trying to, be in amongst the survival pack of teams. They're in the both of them in a relegation battle. In terms of win probability, 45% Sevilla win, 30% for a draw, and only 25% Alavés win. Kind of have to scroll down. It's 13th against 14th. Both on 25 points. The only teams on 25 points at the moment. But they're both, then that means only 3 points behind Rayo Vallecano, who do have a game in hand. And I'll get to Rayo Vallecano in a bit when I talk about their game. But yeah, look, I'll be honest. Ultimately, I don't think either side gets relegated. I'll be honest. But both have been on a very not great form, even though they did at least one game, or for Alavés, 2 games in the last 3. But I'll be honest, I could just see this being a bit of a ball draw. I'll be honest, this one. So in terms of a prediction, I'm going with a 0-0, actually, tomorrow evening. 0-0 is my prediction between Sevilla and Alavés. And then tomorrow night, this is probably a big game, this one, now, when you think about the form. Honestly, both sides. It's Real Madrid against Real Sociedad in La Liga tomorrow night on San Valentin, Valentine's Day. Win probability 70%. Win probability for Real Madrid 17%. Draw and 13% win probability for Real Sociedad. So, look, Real Madrid are the literal only challengers of La Liga against Barcelona. And obviously, if they were to win, they go above them. So there's already that sort of incentive, I would say. Meanwhile, Real Sociedad, they've been on a really good run of form and obviously just picked up that first leg away win at Athletic, one of their rivals, in the Copa del Rey, and potentially looking set to reach the Copa del Rey final, which would be an incredible achievement for the new manager, Materazzo, the American manager, believe it or not. And they're on a good run of form, and they're in a contention for Europe now. And it wouldn't surprise me if they get a result here away at the Bernabeu. So I'll actually go with a draw in this one. I'm going 1-1 between Real Madrid and Real Sociedad. 1-1 will be my prediction between the two sides. And then next up we have is Real Oviedo against Athletic Club. Let me just go to the chat. Big up to Ozan Kabak. Hope you're doing well. Happy Valentine's Day if you have someone. But yeah, Real Oviedo against Athletic Club. Now, obviously, Real Oviedo didn't actually play last weekend, which I'll get to when I talk about Rayo Vallecano just after this. But yeah, technically have 2 weeks of rest, whereas Athletic Club just lost to Real Sociedad this past Wednesday. So when you think about Real Oviedo, maybe you have a good chance against Athletic. And there was news also actually about Athletic, about the transfer ban. But before I talk about that, 26% win probability for Real Oviedo, 31% for draw, and 43% Athletic Club win. Athletic Club season has not been great, even though they win this past weekend, but lost in the Copa del Rey first leg. But yeah, obviously the transfer ban regarding Athletic Club is not great, though I'll be honest, does it really affect them because they only sign players from the Basque region. So it doesn't really affect them, I'll be honest. So it's more or less a non-story, I would say that. We'll see what the outcome of all of that is, by this upcoming summer, which literally the only transfer policy is signing Basque players. Maybe it's like signing Basque players that are playing in other teams in other leagues. Okay, like how they got Laporte in and all that. But obviously they now have to rely on the academy, which they've always done that. So I don't think they're in any danger of getting relegated by the end of the season, or even the season after, Because believe it or not, Athletic Club have never been relegated from La Liga. Whereas for Real Oviedo, they have been relegated from La Liga, but they do have, same with Levante and even Rayo. All of them have a game in hand. So look, got to take full advantage here. Real Oviedo, if they were to get a win, they could actually, for a moment, go above Levante and technically would win 2 games in a row, even though their win was about 2 weeks ago. But look, a win's a win if they can get it, even though they're one of the lowest scoring sides they're actually the lowest scoring sides in La Liga. So I think it's going to be tough, but maybe considering it's at home, the team didn't have to travel because that game 2 weeks ago was at home. So look, maybe there's a bit of momentum, rest period for Real Oviedo. I would like to see an Asturian club stay up, even though I don't think they will. But as a prediction, I will go with maybe another shock. I'm going 1-0 again. 1-0 for Real Oviedo. I think Oviedo could get a win here. I'll be honest. Before I talk about the next game, let's see if there's any chat. There is. Okay, let me get up the chat. Would you take Big Ange or Thomas Frank? No. Both, no. But happy Valentine's Day. But yeah, speaking of Valentine's, and not a lot of love right now at Rayo Vallecano, who play Atlético Madrid. Not even at home. They play. Okay, they haven't updated it. This game is not even going to be played in Vallecas. This game is going to be played in Leganes. Yes, the Botaque Stadium. They're going to Leganes to play this game. Now, it's not really much of a travel because Leganes is in the community of Madrid, but obviously the reason why they moved the game there is because of the pitch, the quality of the pitch. That's why Rayo Vallecano didn't play this past weekend against Real Oviedo, because of the quality of the pitch. And there's a lot of protests now at Rayo Vallecano, which it's a bit bad for them. Obviously, they don't want to have that suffering. And look, maybe the good thing is that they don't play in the Conference League until in March, so because they don't have to go to the playoff. But everything is just looking really bleak at Rayo Vallecano. Meanwhile, Atletico Madrid are on the other end, whereby having just beaten Barcelona 4-0 last night, they can get a huge win here if they can, because obviously they lost to Betis in La Liga. But yeah, huge result. Win probability, 21% Rayo Vallecano win, 26% for a draw, and 53% for Atletico Madrid win. And I'll be honest, this could be actually the lowest attended match in La Liga. Like, literally. Because one, the Rayo Vallecano fans are not, most of them are not even going to the game. And Atletico Madrid, look, maybe they'll bring some fans, but it's not really that. It's not going to offer much of an atmosphere. Look, despite the loss to Betis, I do think Atletico Madrid get a huge win. Honestly, I can see it technically away. I'll go 3-0 Atletico Madrid. I just think the problems at Rayo, and they're in the relegation zone, even with a game in hand. But there's so much chaos and disruption at Rayo Vallecano that I just don't think the players will be up for it. Maybe they will, but it's a bit of an ask. So I'm going 3-0 for Atletico Madrid. But despite having a quote-unquote Madrid derby in Leganes, we do have a Valencian derby. Yes, the Comunidad de Valencia. The derby is back again. It is Levante against Valencia, and if I remember correctly, this game earlier in the season ended 1-0, if I'm not mistaken, for Valencia. But obviously, Levante have a better record at home. No shit, against their big rivals. Obviously, both teams from the same city and all that. Win probability is practically even. 36% for both Levante and Valencia, and 28% for a draw. This could be any sort of scoreline and any sort of result. Obviously, Valencia are down in 17th. Meanwhile, Levante are down in 19th. So both are in that relegation dogfight. Look, and this is a huge game. And I don't know how it's going to end up, I'll be honest. Because I think both sides can definitely have the quality to win, but also have the quality to not win, I would say. In terms of a prediction, look, I just can't really separate either side, I'll be honest. So I'll go with a 1-1 draw. I'll go with a draw, 1-1. It's my prediction for the derby of Levante against Valencia. 1-1 is my prediction. Then obviously on Sunday night, we do have here is Mallorca. Yeah, Mallorca versus Real Betis. Obviously, Betis getting a big win in La Liga, though got knocked out by Atleti in the Copa del Rey previous round in the quarterfinal. But yeah, win probability 32% for Mallorca win, 29% for draw, and 39% for Real Betis win. Betis up to 5th, well, staying in 5th, and probably, I'll be honest, it seems like they'll solidify 5th. They are, I'll be honest, probably the only challengers now that could get into the Champions League places, but it would take a catastrophic fall from either Atleti or Villarreal to get there, I would say, for Betis. So, look, big win they got against Atleti, which I think is crucial for them. So, we'll see how they do. Meanwhile, for Mallorca, they're in 16th. Just lost this past weekend against Barcelona, but they had their chances, I would say, Mallorca. The only thing I would say is Mallorca defensively just ain't that good. I just think Betis could get the result here, which would be good for Betis in terms of maybe they can close potentially the gap should either Atleti or Villarreal lose. Who knows, even though I predicted both to win. So I'll go with a 2-1 away win for Real Betis. That'll be my prediction. 2-1 for Real Betis. And then the final La Liga game, technically, but there is going to be another rescheduled game. It is technically a Barcelona derby. Girona against Barcelona on Monday night. Yeah. So Barcelona have to wait for their response. But yeah, win probability 14% Girona win, 16% for a draw, and 70% Barcelona win. Now, as you can see, Barcelona are top of La Liga, but obviously they just lost in the Copa del Rey to Atletico Madrid. So, especially 4-0, they have to bounce back from that result, I would say. And maybe beating Girona could help them away from home, but Barcelona kind of struggling a bit at the moment. Obviously, Copa del Rey doesn't seem like they'll get back in it, but Barcelona fans make you think that they are going to have a comeback. We'll find out. But obviously they are top of La Liga at the moment, but Real Madrid are chasing them. Girona in 12th, but only 4 points above the relegation zone. So things can definitely change. They can go from 12th to near 17th should certain results not go their way. So look, it's going to be a big one on Monday night, the derby, you could say. In terms of a prediction, I do think Barcelona do have a point to prove after that loss last night to Athletic. So I'm going with a 3-1 win for Barcelona, but I think defensively they could be got at. But I'll go 3-1 for Barcelona. Now, there is going to be another game, not on Tuesday, but on Wednesday, 8 o'clock here in Spain. It is technically another derby in Valencia. It is Levante against Villarreal. This was meant to be played on game week 16, so like around early December, if I'm not mistaken, and it was due to bad weather, actually, and maybe there'll be other games postponed. But the weather, I hope by tomorrow or next week will be better in all of Spain. It's been pouring today, at least in my region of Spain, in Galicia. But yeah, look, Levante against Villarreal. Levante have a chance to get, maybe, if this could be a perfect week for Levante. If they beat Valencia and Villarreal in back-to-back, like literally 3-4 days apart from each other, that would be a huge outcome for Levante in terms of their survival prospects. Win probability 24% for Levante, 25% for draw, Villarreal at 51%. Obviously, if Villarreal were to win, they would go above Atletico Madrid in terms of should certain results go their way. But they have to start picking up a win as well in their case. And the same will go for Levante. Now, obviously, this will all depend on how both teams do in their games this coming weekend. So, look, I forgot how I predicted this one back in game week 16. I literally don't remember. But now, obviously, been rescheduled. But I'll be honest, I do think Villarreal do get a win. I think they'll capitalize and get back-to-back wins actually this weekend. At least till the next show. I'll go with a nice big scoreline. 3-2, Villarreal is my prediction. 3-2 for Villarreal, for the Yellow Submarine will be my prediction. And now it is time for, let me switch it up, for the El Toro de la Semana, the best player of the week of last week in La Liga. Now, obviously, there are a few names on the list potentially to be, decided to maybe get into the spot. I haven't actually thought about it that long actually. I'm actually not really spoiled for choice, I'll be honest. I will say, I'm just looking at the previous results. Just because they finally got their first win in like 2 months, because I don't think there's been a standout player, I am going to give it to Mauro Arambari of Getafe. Scored a penalty to secure the win. Did pretty well in the game overall. So yeah, I'll give it to Mauro Arambari of Getafe, because Getafe just don't get much recognition, for better or for the worse. But look, I'll go with him and Getafe. Look, good result for them to pick up over the weekend, this past weekend. So yeah, so Mauro Arambari is the El Toro de la Semana, the best player of the week. And obviously, I'm just sorting things out to show you guys the Segunda. Now, let me switch over for the Segunda. So here we go, the Segunda. As I said, now obviously we just had game week 25. Now there was I think there was only one game postponed, which was Ceuta against Cordoba because of the weather. We've been having so many storms this calendar year. So, they at least hopefully Spain gets to become like Galicia, all green. You know the region. Galicia is the best region as well. But in terms of the Segunda, we have Leganes beating Granada on Friday night, last Friday. You have Andorra losing 2-1 to the B team of Real Sociedad. The 0-0 draw against Las Palmas and Burgos. Las Palmas is literally the only area of Spain that didn't really have much effect of the weather, unlike the mainland or the Balearic Islands. So, good for them. Fantastic at the Canary Islands. But no. 1-1 between Zaragoza and Eibar. And then you have Castellón getting a huge win against Valladolid. And it piles on the pressure on Valladolid. Valladolid, if I'm not mistaken, are just one place above the relegation zone. So not a good spot at the moment. Deportivo La Coruña, we did win 2-1 against Albacete. So we done the double over Albacete, and we did what Real Madrid couldn't do this season. So be good. And puts us in a good spot, somewhat. We got Almeria beating Cadiz in the Andalusian derby, you could say, away as well. Sporting Gijón 2, Huesca 1. And then you had Malaga 2, Leonessa won. Very controversial VAR decision for the benefit of Malaga, actually. I don't think Malaga didn't play that well in that game. And then you have Racing Santander 1 against Mirandes 0. It was first against last, and the first place team beat the team in last. And they got a bit of revenge from last season because Mirandes smacked Racing Club Santander in the playoff last season to get up to La Liga, but both didn't get up to La Liga. In terms of the games this weekend, obviously there's a game happening. Almeria are winning 1-0 against Andorra. And then tomorrow you have Cordoba against Leganes, Burgos taking on Cadiz, you have Leonesa taking on Zaragoza, and Granada taking on Valladolid. That looks like a huge game in terms of the implications of maybe relegation threat. And the same thing with Leonesa Zaragoza. You have Mirandes taking on Las Palmas. Las Palmas have not been a good run of form now. Huesca take on Ceuta. Eibar host Racing Club. Meanwhile, Albacete taking on Sporting Gijon. And then, obviously, you have Castellón versus Deportivo La Coruña. Probably the game of the weekend. And obviously, you guys can check out my predictions, my preview for the Castellón versus Deportivo La Coruña game on La Piña Rosa, which I did with Charlie this past Monday. And obviously, this coming Monday, I will be reviewing what happened from that game, along with talking about Palermo, which I will be doing with Charlie, and they drew 3-3, if I remember, against Sampdoria in Serie B. So yeah, check out my preview of Castellón against Deportivo La Coruña. And then obviously you have Real Sociedad B taking on Malaga on Monday night. So those are the upcoming games of this weekend in the Segunda. Let me just get up the table. So right now, I'll show the top 6. So obviously, as you guys know, the top 6 do get in minimum playoffs, or the top 2 obviously get automatic promotion. And at the moment, with Almeria winning at this moment in time, and big up to Heldivius, happy Valentine's Day. Hopefully, we're not all alone, and hopefully Newcastle and Depor are not alone. And just get 1 point. I hope they both get 3 points. Or for Newcastle advance in the cup. But yeah, Almeria are now up to 3rd with Racing Club and Castellón currently in the top 2. And the top 2 obviously get into La Liga automatically. Deportivo, we're in 4th. Obviously, we have a game in hand, but we do play Castellón. So if we were to beat Castellón, we would be in the automatic promotion spots. We do have a very good away record this season, the best away team in the Segunda, so hopefully that continues. But we'll find out on Sunday night when we play Castellón away. Huge game, huge game. Obviously, Malaga in 5th and Las Palmas in bad run of form in 6th place. And actually, their bad run of form started with Deportivo, actually, when we drew 1-1 at their place. So that's the top 6, but teams are chasing. For sure. You have Burgos in 7th and Sporting Gijon in 8th. Literally a point behind Las Palmas, so it's very open. Cordoba obviously did not play this past weekend due to bad weather, and they're on 38. So technically, if they win the game in hand against Ceuta, who are in 10th, then obviously Cordoba would actually enter the playoffs and all that. So they have something that they can maybe hold on to. But yeah, Ceuta same scenario, but 3 points behind them. You have Cadiz in 11th, and they've been on bad run of form. Albacete, Deportivo, as I said, we beat them, so ending their good run of form. Even though technically Barcelona ended their run of form actually. You had Leganes in 13th on 32 points. They're kind of picking up results now. Though I'll be honest, unless they actually go on a mad run, I don't see them getting into the top 6. Eibar in 14th as well on 32 points. And then, in a way, I think this is, at the moment, the teams in a relegation scrap. Eibar, Granada, Andorra at the moment, all of them, oh, actually, not Eibar, but Granada, that's what I meant to say, 29 points each. Sociedad B on 28 points. Yeah, Valladolid, surprisingly for people, are in the bottom 5, but it is the bottom 4 that get relegated to the Primera Ref, or the third tier of Spanish football. You have Huesca, Leonesa, Zaragoza, and Mirandes, and obviously Zaragoza take on Leonesa. So a win for either side does give a bit of a confidence booster. And obviously, there's a chance that we could have both teams from Aragon, Huesca, and Zaragoza getting relegated by the end of the season. That would be a bit of a surprise, I would say. Probably for Huesca. And Mirandes, I'll be honest, I do think they will. I think they're probably the only team I think will go down, for sure. Lots of things have happened for them, and seems like they're not going to get the fortune they had last season, when they almost were one game away from being in La Liga, which would be crazy. I've told you to Nasa about you. He says he wants to stream with you. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Big up. I will have to check his channel. And if he does go live at some point, maybe the Aston Villa, I don't know. Then I will definitely try to find his contact. Oh, definitely. So yeah, big up. Thank you. But yeah, that is actually basically it for the El Toro La Liga show of today. Now, obviously, big games happening in La Liga. Obviously, the biggest one, I will be honest, is the Castellón game against Depor. When I'm being serious, I'm actually saying, oh, yeah. Obviously, I meant, what do you call this? Like a stream, obviously. But I don't speak Korean. But I do know how to say sarang heyo, which means love or something, or I love you. But yeah, obviously, going to be talking about La Liga and all in next week's show. Obviously, big games coming up. But the big game, as I said, is the Valencian derby between Levante and Valencia. Huge relegation battle, that one now. So yeah, it's been a good show. A bit of a longer-ish show, obviously, because of the Copa del Rey. Oh, okay. So maybe one day. But yeah, as I said, big up for everyone for watching. As I said, please do hit the like button on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And yeah, I'll be back on Monday for La Piña Rosa, talking about Deportivo and Palermo. I'll schedule it probably on Monday with Charlie as well, as you guys can see from the ticker, talking about that. And obviously going to be back with the Newcastle United and Tottenham Hotspur show on Thursday. Obviously, the news of Igor Toro being the interim coach for Tottenham, and obviously kind of reviewing. Oh yeah, and I forgot, I will be doing a live watch along for the Carabao game on, when is it? Wednesday? Right? We play on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So Wednesday, early Champions League kickoff, I will be doing a watch along within the next week. That would be the Carabao versus Newcastle game. And if you want to know my prediction for that, just check out the show that I did with Charlie, Year of the Birds. But yeah, it's been a good show. And as I said, please do hit the like button on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I will see you guys on Monday for La Piña Rosa. And happy Valentine's Day.